Yo, this is John Hope Bryant, and this is the Money and Wealth podcast series on Black Effect Network and iHeartRadio. It's a weekly podcast, my ministry of finance. I want to first of all thank you, the listeners, the subscribers, for making this a top 100 business podcast in the country and one of the top 40 entrepreneurship podcasts in the entire country. Let's get at it. This week's podcast is extremely important and provocative. It's not supposed to be provocative. It shouldn't be provocative, but I think this is a radical movement of common sense. And well, I like math because it doesn't have an opinion. That's my friend Melody Hobson quote. And it just appears that things that I don't intend to be provocative at all are extremely provocative. Let me just get it out right up front. I don't think the issue today in this country is primarily black or white, as in race, or red or blue, as in politics, partisan politics. I think the issue is green, economics. Let me unpack that with specifics. And I'm talking about credit scores this week. I'm talking about the power of credit scores to change your life and to change America. Of course, it should go without saying, for the better. Okay. So, together with Bernice King, Dr. Bernice King, the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Ambassador Andrew Young, who was Dr. King's right arm in the civil rights movement and was on the balcony when Dr. King was assassinated in April 4th, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee, along with the mayor of Memphis, Paul Young. We got together and pulled together 20 amazing global speakers, the experts, the best of the best, and 100 founding delegates from all platforms throughout the country and even throughout the world. Um, and you can go to the Dream Forward and look at the list of speakers and the delegates, and you will find it looks like America. There are Democrats and Republicans. There's black and white. There's rich and poor. There's conservative and liberal. There's urban and rural. Um, there's a current administration who's represented with speakers in the program for 3 hours. The ground rule was nothing negative. You can't throw political bombs. You can't criticize. You can't uh, take out your therapy, the need for therapy, and your frustrations using Dr. King's memorial as a backstage. You have to come here with solutions for all of us. Because when Dr. King was assassinated, he had framed out a vision for the Poor People's Campaign that was about all of God's children. He wasn't just talking about black people. He was talking about poor whites also at that point. There are more poor whites in America now and then than poor anybody else. That is a literal fact. And I believe it is also true that the number one group dying in America today are high school educated white men dying of opioid addiction, which is basically just lost aspiration. The addiction, the drugs are really just the sideshow. The real issue here it is lost hope, depression, a sense of a lack of opportunity. And I'm talking about an opportunity economy. That's what we're talking about today is an opportunity economy. But I'm talking about your economy. It's your front door, or at your kitchen table. I'm talking about how to what you there's so many things you can't control. I'm gonna talk about something you can control. So Dr. King was talking about all of God's children, right? He didn't say I'm here to save Black America. He said I'm here to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty. And he was right. And unfortunately, he was assassinated before could do his first march. We issued a series of business plans on that day. You can go to Dream Forward at Operation Hope website and download them. Look at them for yourself, evaluate them yourself, analyze them yourself. They're all rooted in some basic realities and facts. And feel free to beat them up if you like. Send them back to us if you disagree. So it's very hard to disagree with basic numbers, but more than open. If you want to make them better, you can make them better. Fantastic. Emory University the economics department at Emory University and Clark Atlanta University Business School and HBCU have both agreed to be the quarterback for refining these business plans as we get into the fall of this year, and we present final plans at the Hope Global Forum. Okay, now I've talked enough. That's 5 minutes about the philosophy and all that stuff. I know you have precious time, and you want to. I just wanted to let you know what this is about and what this is not about, and what I think. I think the country is sort of wasting a lot of time arguing about uh, things because I really think that we can solve. I don't know 80% of our problems if we get our economics straight, right? If everybody has a personal um, aspirational ladder that they feel is repaired enough for them to get on and to increase. People say all the time when I'm giving speeches in mostly urban communities. I go everywhere. I was just at West Point speaking, as in West Point, the military academy. But I go to urban communities all the time, and people say I hate rich people, and I have to remind them, no, you don't. You hate rich people until you become rich. What you hate is a gamed system, right? A system that you believe that is rigged against your success. That no matter how hard you work, you can't seem to get over. You can't seem to advance yourself, right? And that's not good. If you don't believe this country is not a country, she's an idea. You can make her anything you want. And with enough hustle, you should be able to aspire and hustle in a business plan and hope tied to a business plan. You should have doors open for you, or you should be able to open doors to unlock the power of success in your life. So this is everybody's problem, and let's see if at the end of this podcast, I've already wasted or invested 6.5 minutes in setting this up. Let's see if I can spend the next 40 minutes, 45 minutes, giving you some data is absolutely unimpeachable. And hit me on social media, hit me on comments, and tell me whether you agree with this or not. But I want you to tell your friends to subscribe to this podcast. I want them to subscribe. I want them to follow me on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Threads, wherever you find your social media platforms. Because on those platforms, I actually answer. You leave a comment there. Um, I will actually answer it myself between meetings and trying to grow businesses. Okay, here's the first bombshell. We're at 7.5 minutes. If you want somebody else to listen to this and get to the meat of it while they're whatever going through the motions of their day, they're traveling, they're commuting, they're cooking food, whatever, they're jogging. Okay, when does John get into this 7.5 minute mark? Here you go. First bombshell. If you raise your credit score from 500 to 700, you'll live on average 20-year longer life. Boom. Yes, that's exactly right. I did not uh, um, exaggerate one little bit, and I'll get into each of these topics in some detail. But I want to lay some bombs out for you. Um, i- the data that Experian, we have a Hope Financial Wellness Index at Operation Hope. You can go to Operation Hope's website. You can type in your zip code, go to Operation Hope's website, or just search Hope Financial Wellness Index. I've given you all these. We're the economic plumbing for the country, the bottom half of the country. So I'm giving you all these tools you can use on your own. By the way, everything I'm telling you, you can go do it on yourself. Let me tell you how you're living. Tell me your zip code and and I'll tell you your credit score and I'll tell you how you're living. Go to the Hope Financial Wellness Index, type in your zip code, and we'll tell you your credit score for you and your neighbors. Right? What I tell you before? If you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. The opposite is also true. You model what you see. So what we have found is if you live in a 500 credit score neighborhood, you live to about 61 years of age, give or take. Black and brown urban, poor white rural, doesn't matter. You live in a 700 credit score neighborhood, okay? You live to about 81 years of age. Black and brown urban, or black and white, a black 700 credit score community or a white 700 credit score community matters not. A tan one, meaning my Asian brothers and sisters or Latinos, doesn't matter. Okay, this data is unimpeachable, and so that means for about every 50-point increase in credit score, you live about 5-year longer life. And it's not about the credit score per se. It's about the trending indicators of hope, well-being, belief, confidence, joy, uh, optimism. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're absolutely right. Is the glass half full or glass half empty? Depends who's looking at the glass. I can't tell you and I can't guarantee you that being optimistic and positive is going to make you a success. But I absolutely guarantee you that being negative will make you fail in time. So, and a lot of disease is dis-ease. My wife, Shatra, is a wellness expert, and she has found that about 70, 75% of all um, fitness is actually what you put in your mouth, right? And the 25% is about 25% is working out. What do we obsess on? We work the working out part, and we put crap in our diet, in our mouths, possibly, right? And I've been getting to that why that's relevant to this example of 500 credit scores versus 700 credit score neighborhoods, right? If you put crap in your diet and put that diet in your mouth, right? Uh, Preservatives and bad foods, you're going to inflame, and I think it's 70% of all disease lives on inflammation. I may not be right about that. I'm not a wellness expert. My wife is. She's not in this podcast, but I believe that's the number. The numbers yeah, I'll tell you when I'm sure about something, which is 95% of this podcast, and I'll tell you when I'm not sure. I'm guessing. I'm guesstimating, and I just guesstimated based on my memory, but I'm not far off. But you can, comment on things that you want clarification on. So the life expectancy is a real situation, right? We have U.S. Census data, we've got Experian credit score data, we overlay it. We have all the credit bureaus. We have our own data at Operation Hope. In a 500 credit score neighborhood, you have higher poverty rates. You have lower educational attainment. You have food deserts. Okay, a lot of fast food restaurants. Nothing wrong with fast food or soul food every now and then. You shouldn't eat it every day, 3 times a day, as a replacement for fruits and vegetables, salads, and you know, preferably farm raised beef and clean fish and all that kind of stuff. Something green on your plate every day. Anyway, you have food deserts in these communities. You have limited healthcare access. You have environmental hazards in these communities. By contrast, areas with credit scores above 700 tend to have higher incomes, higher educational levels. I'm gonna get in this again. I'm gonna dig deep into this. Better housing and healthcare, uh, safer environments. Um, and this data, by the way, comes from Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, CDC studies, um, the Operation Hope Financial Wellness Index, and other sources. Now, in the U.S. Census. Um, if you live in a 500 credit score neighborhood, right, you tend to see um, a check casher next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent to own store, next to a title lender, next to a liquor store. Is your head nodding yet? Next to a pawn shop. If anybody heard me speak, you've heard me cover this. If I got into a rhythm, next to a church down the street, trying to make you feel a little bit better once a week. That's your neighborhood therapist, right? I love black people saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna go to a psychologist or a shrink." Somebody might think I'm crazy. If you black in America, the joke goes, and you don't think you're a little crazy, you're probably crazy. We've been doing so much with so little for so long. You can almost do anything with nothing. We wake up with hustle on our brains and struggle in our veins. But we got to go from a struggling mindset to a surviving from a surviving mindset and struggling mindset to a thriving mindset, middle class, to a winning mindset. Winners are builders, right? So I'm trying to get your mind right, right? Because all poverty other than sustenance poverty, which is a roof over your head and food on the table and reasonable health care, all other forms of poverty, right, are mindset. So that's why this credit score thing is so powerful because it's not about the credit score per se. It's a credit score again is a trending indicator for these other underlying situations, and it's really has to do with your mindset, how you see the world, and you want to see when you want to know if your neighbors, by the way, align with your mindset. Or, you either change your neighbors, change your life, or change your community, right? So okay, so we set this up and now I want to get into this because I'm going to deal with yes, of course, the Black community. I'm going to deal with the Latino community. I'm going to deal with white America. There are more poor whites in America than poor anybody else. Prove this is not a racial issue. I mean, I mean, I'm gonna just start peppering stuff in here. Deal with Native American, if I mentioned that, and women. Uh, as I've written these business plans for each of these groups, by the way, again, available at the Dream Forward website. You can download it and discuss it and adapt it for your own life. But folks will focus on the fact that okay, black people, you're so emotional and you riot in the streets. Poor black people. Okay. Dr. King once said that violence was the language of the unseen and the unheard. Well, there's not just physical violence, or yeah, physical violence. There's also political violence. I mean, a lot of my poor white brothers and sisters have found it important to riot at the ballot box. They're frustrated and they're trying to find to be white way to be heard also, and they deserve to be heard, right? So none of this leads anywhere. Riding the streets or riding the ballot box, none of this leads anywhere productive. We've got to have solutions to our problems, and that's what I am about. So you have. I'm going to break down states and cities and regions by credit score. I'm going to talk about high credit score communities and lower credit score communities. Um, I'm going to talk about uh, maybe where you should consider living or whether you should consider as an opportunity to revitalize, right? So let me get into some of the real nitty gritty stuff here because this stuff is really quite powerful. Um, just jump into it. By the way, Operation Hope, which is a resource for you, we have 1,500 offices in 42 states. I think it's 300 physical locations and growing. We're the only nonprofit ever allowed to operate inside of a bank branch in United States history. The FFIEC, the Joint Regulatory Agencies, all co-signed more than a decade ago for us to operate inside of a bank, getting the bank out of the no business. Sorry, you declined for credit and back into the yes business. So we're in the biggest banks in America. We're the only nonprofit that met the criteria, and we are moving credit scores 54 points in 6 months. 120 points in 24 months. Nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. When you go to the club tonight and you meet that beautiful lady, you see that handsome dude. After you go to work, you go to the club, you want to relax. Hey, what's your name? How you doing? Yeah. Have you asked the name? Ask what the credit score is, because that's not just a cute date. If you get serious about this person, this is your business partner for life, right? So this affects every part of your life. This financial literacy is a civil rights issue of this generation, and credit scores might be like counting the votes, right? And credit scores are as important as a four-year education. Should not replace it, but it is as important for you to achieve your freedom as a four-year education. You should have both. You should have some kind of higher education, and you should have a competitive credit score as a baseline for getting your freedom. As my friend, the CEO of KeyBank, once told me, um, he said, "John, Chris Gorman told me as we were opening our Hope Inside location, he said, John, it is entirely possible that financial freedom is the only true freedom because every other freedom can be taken from you. Political freedom, uh, religious freedom, social freedoms, all these freedoms can be taken from you. But once you have economic freedom, you have financial literacy, you understand how the system works, unless you give it away in some way, it cannot be co opted or taken away from you. It's very powerful because you own it. And I'm going to show you how to change and move your credit scores. Again, we're doing that at Operation Hope for not free. It costs money, but we have arranged through funding to get this scholarship for you. So everybody listening to this, if you go to Hope Inside, so our Hope in Hand app on your Android or Apple phone, you download the Hope in Hand app, and you go in there and you tell say that John Bryant sent you, or you could call our 1-800 number, or you go to operationhope.org, or you walk into a physical location, one that go to our map at Operation Hope and find a location across this country, and you go in, you tell them I sent you, you'll get $1,000 scholarship, good for 12 months for free financial coaching and counseling. Whether you're in West Virginia or you're in West Hollywood, whether you're in Tupelo, Mississippi, or whether you're in Topeka, Kansas, whether you're in Detroit, Michigan, or whether you're in Des Moines, Iowa, right? It doesn't matter. We are there for you, and we're there to help you move your credit score up 54 points to 120 points, reduce your debt $3,800 on average. This is what we're doing at Operation Hope, increasing savings about $1,200 for somebody making about $48,000 a year. That transforms your life. That makes you bankable, right? That means the bank goes from telling you no, sorry, can't approve you, to now saying yes. What can we approve you for? What is it that you want? You want to become a homeowner? You want to send your kid to college? You want to get a new auto loan? You want to get a lower interest rate credit card? You want to refinance from an 18 to 25% credit card down to a 12% credit card, or an 18 to 30% auto loan down to sub 10% auto loan. This is what happens when you master these three things I just told you about. Get your credit score up 54 points, get your debt down $3,800, get your savings up $1,200, which is what Operation Hope is doing over the course of about 6 months to a year. That allows you to get into the game, right? And then we just keep increasing that. We've funded about $4.5 billion in capital for homeownership, restructuring your life, small business entrepreneurship, using these tools to then get the prime credit providers to then say yes, which then grows economic opportunity for you, grows GDP for that city that you live in or a state. It removes your burden on the public system and makes you more independent. It increases your health, increases your prosperity, increases your optimism. You starting to get it. You're starting to is the light starting to go on? Okay, let me get into this data here. So, rural America, poor whites. Let's get to this first. And again, I wrote a business plan for this. You can go read it for yourself. The average credit score in rural American communities is 560 to 620. I really need you all to pay very close attention to this data because we're more like all of us than you think. The average credit score, by the way, for African Americans across the country, not poor black people, all African Americans, is 620, which means there's a bunch of folks above 620 like me who are at 750 or 800. But there are tons more that are in 500, 550 range, which drag that number down. So the average is 620, right? The average credit score in rural areas, and particularly with poor white communities, are between 560 and 620. So about the same range. What happens in these communities? They have higher rates of medical debt. Okay, it was recently arranged. It was actually a recommendation that Operation Hope helped with. Again, we're nonpartisan. We work with Republican and Democratic administrations. Anybody who wants to work with us to help to advance the state of people's lives. I've known 12 secretaries of the Treasury. I've known 9 U.S. presidents. We have been recognized by 5 U.S. presidents from both parties, and I've served as an advisor for 3 U.S. presidents from both parties. And the last administration, medical debt was an issue that basically this does not affect your credit score anymore. Okay, now we'll see what we can get done now. Uh, so higher these communities have higher rates of medical debt, thin credit files, right, and tend to deal with payday lending. Okay, and by the way, you go around outside of a military base, and you're going to see the same thing, right? You're going to see and these are blacks, whites, Latinos, Asians, everybody, women, everybody, right? You're going to see all these financial predators stacked up outside the military base because they know that these military personnel can't afford to have negative stuff on their credit report or negative financial situations because you lose your security clearance. Um, okay, are you guys following me on this? Like this is I'm giving you a lot, as Jay Z said. I'm gonna give you $1 million worth of game for $9.99. I'm giving you $5 million worth of game for none 99. You're not paying for a dime of this podcast. This is free to you, right? Thank you, Black Effect Network. Okay, so uh, so if credit scores rise by 50 to 100 points, right, to 670 to 720, homeownership approvals increase in these communities using USDA and FHA loans. Local entrepreneurship expands, especially in trades, farming, and logistics. You reduce reliance on predatory credit. Household savings rates about 15%. Apprenticeships and job stability improve and with access to car loans, prime car loans for job commuting. Rural America doesn't need a bailout. Uh, it needs access. Credit score, credit score increases unlocks that access. Um, Let me now jump into Native American community. By the way, if you want to know the Black Business Plan, I covered that as a solo in the last, I think, 2 episodes ago, 1 or 2 episodes ago. So go back and listen to that episode. I cover that in total and really unpack that. I'm just focusing now on credit scores for everybody. Um, so credit score, the credit situation for Native American communities. Many tribal areas lack mainstream credit options. By the way, I'm pretty sure that the largest alcoholism rate in the country are Native American Indian communities, and I think I don't have it documented, but I think that the one of the largest depression rates, or at least not clinically dictated, not clinically prescribed depression, but I mean just like emotionally down, is in the African American community. So I think these three groups, because they never got the memo, that's my fourth book of how the system works. They've been locked out of the five pillars of success. As much education you shove down your throat, understanding how the system works, financial literacy, family structure and resiliency, self-esteem and confidence, role models and environment. Those five things, if you miss 3 to 4 of those or five of those things, then you tend to be depressed, distressed, and you tend to take it out on yourself and others. That's the white community, poor white community. I covered that. The number one cause of death for the number one group dying in America were white men. I covered that. I talked about now the Native American Indians. I've just talked about African Americans and African Americans as differentiated from our Caribbean brothers and sisters and our African brothers and sisters who have problems, but different problems than the one I just described to you. Okay. I'm just trying to break this stuff down so it's non emotional, just the data. So back to the Native American communities. Average credit score 580 to 630. See how similar this is? Limited access to traditional banking and generational wealth assets. If credit scores rise 50 to 100 points, tribal home loans increase. This the HUD 184 program that they would use. Greater small business approvals via CDFIs, community development financial institutions, and BIA loan guarantees. These are loan guarantees for Native American Indian populations. Financial literacy becomes a sovereign tool, a sovereignty tool, reducing reliance on extractive, active outside services, um, gambling, except things like that. Reinvestment into tribal economic growth, native-led banks, businesses, and schools. Okay, women. Women are a third of the U.S. economy, just so you know. So I've covered women in a separate situation podcast. If you want me to go deeper with women? Put in one of the comments. I'll do a podcast just on the power, the untapped power of women and their role in the American economies. Let me know, including Black women, by the way, which was the biggest group of book buyers in the country, most educated, I believe, group. I know the biggest group of book buyers, by the way, Black women. Okay, so women, a credit gap exists due to historic underbanking, especially for single mothers and entrepreneurs. Do you know that a woman could not open a bank account in 1972? Hello, couldn't get a loan unless her husband co-signed it in 1972, not 1872. They actually benefited from women have benefited from affirmative action designed for African Americans. A whole nother podcast and discussion at another time. Um, uh, Tied to our history. But anyway, and I say God bless them. I'm glad somebody benefited. And of course, 70% of all households in Black America are run by women, give or take. So think about the stress that it creates. If credit scores rise by 50 to 100 points, women deserve a Nobel Peace Prize just for raising our families. By the way, without women, there'd be many less men. Joke, reality. Think about it. Drop the mic. More women qualify for solo home ownership when their credit score rises. Female entrepreneurs access working capital, where denial rates are 15 to 20% higher than men. That's ridiculous, by the way. It shouldn't be that way. Clearly, that's discrimination, but we're going to just work around it. Less financial stress equals increased productivity, health, and retirement planning. Child stability improves with greater maternal financial strength, right? And being able to get childcare. When women raise their credit scores, they don't just change their lives, they change the lives of everyone who depends on them. They're domestic engineers. They deserve to be supported. Latino communities. Current situation: the average credit score is 610 to 665. They often limited credit histories, fewer assets, and first generation financial systems. If the credit score increases 50 to 100 points, explosive growth in first time homeownership would happen. Immigrant entrepreneurs gain access to business lines of credit. Intergenerational transfers of wealth begins through home equity and savings. What do I tell you? The number one way you build home ownership? Well, number one way you build wealth in America? Home ownership. This applies to everybody. Children benefit from lower student loan rates and cosign access to education. The American dream becomes real for Latino families when access meets credit. Hello, it's a wrap, baby. The bottom 20% of GDP zip codes of all group have a credit score between 550 and 580. They're disproportionately impacted by crime, unemployment, housing instability. Let me get into specifically what this means. On average, when on the Hope Financial Wellness Index, we found that the 500 credit score neighborhood has about a 61%, 60%, 61%, 62% in graduation rate from high school. A 700 credit score community has about a 96% graduation from high school, which means they've gone to college. Okay. 700 credit score neighborhoods, two parent households. 500 credit score neighborhoods, one parent household. Um, 500 credit score neighborhood, violent crimes per thousand, off the chain. 700 credit score neighborhoods, violent crimes per thousand, no chain at all, almost non existent. Home ownership rates in a 500 credit score neighborhood, 14%, 20%, maximum 40% on average. Home ownership rates in a 700 credit score neighborhood, 75%. See how consistent this is? You live to 60 to 61 years of age maximum in a 500 credit score neighborhood where you're a surviving mindset. Heck, you don't even get Social Security, right? Isn't that a joke? Work your whole life and you don't even get what you worked for. You live to 700 credit score community, typically 15 minutes apart in a urban city, 81 years of age. Again, a 20-year delta difference by just doing something that you can control, which is raising your credit score. It's so many examples of this. Um, if credit score rises 50 to 100 points, right? Community stability is gained through mortgage approvals because you're becoming a homeowner. And nobody washes rental cars. You don't care how nice you are. You take that rental car back to the owner. You let him wash it or her wash it, right? That car. You can write your name on the window after 2 weeks. With that rental car, it's not yours, but you own something. You start taking care of it, right? Local businesses thrive as credit card delinquencies drop. Crime rates 15 to 20% drops 15 to 20% as the economic opportunity rises. Schools improve with rising home ownership and tax bases. Raising credit scores in the bottom 20% of America lifts the entire nation. Woo! Can I get an amen? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now I'm getting to the part that I'm really, really excited about because I love people like, okay, John, this is a nice theory, but what about where I live? Or talk to me. You've been talking about this stuff. Tell me some specifics so I can question it. Okay, here we go. This is minute 33. If you want to just tell somebody to go to that area. Um, the 10 lowest credit score states in America. Please write these down. Number one, Mississippi. Also the most unbanked state in America. Poorest state in America. Lowest credit score state in America. Often these states that I'm going to mention to you are often saying that they hate the government, that they want to be self-reliant. This is again financial literacy, and typically, and I'm generalizing here, typically for every um, $2 or $3 of federal government support, they're adding a dollar or so in GDP or economic activity. So in other words, they're a net importer of subsidies from the federal government, but these tend to be places that think that they're self-reliant and often will say with bravado, I don't want the government in my life. When you look at healthcare and Medicare and all these other different programs, farm subsidies, all this stuff, you'll find these are heavily subsidized areas. Again, this is just math. I'm not picking. You see, in a minute, I'm gonna be picking on everybody, right? This is not personal. This is just it is what it is. Number one, and I want to help Mississippi. I have offices in Mississippi, so these are opportunities where there are problems. Mississippi is 680, right? Credit score, right? That's the average. Very small group of people with a 700 credit score community in Mississippi, unfortunately. But it's an opportunity for those who would live there or want to live there. It's an opportunity for you. If you're in a 700 credit score community in Mississippi, every bank, every financial institution, every furniture store, every whatever, every department store wants to give you credit, right? You just write your own ticket. Number two, Louisiana, 690. Alabama, number three, 692 credit score. Texas, 695. Georgia, 695. I'm in Georgia right now. But Atlanta as a city is basically Georgia economically. Um, the GDP in Atlanta I mean, it's bigger than most states around the city of Atlanta. The city of Atlanta as a GDP, as an economy, is bigger than most states around Georgia combined. Two or three states combined are smaller economically than the city of Atlanta. Atlanta, though, has problems. It has areas that has very high credit scores and very high levels of economic activity. It has areas still that have low credit scores, like the tale of two cities. And so Atlanta still has to get its act together. But the mayor and mayors have done a great job here overall. And they made diversity a business strength, which I keep talking about. The city of Atlanta has the same size economy as the country I was at 3 weeks ago, which is Singapore. Drop the mic. Hello. Number six state, Arkansas, 696 credit scores. Seven state, Oklahoma, 696. Nevada, 701. New Mexico, 702. South Carolina, 702. The 10 cities with the lowest average credit score. Detroit, number one, 566. See there? Like, okay. People are like, yeah, see, I knew there was a reason. Detroit in the 50s was the wealthiest city per capita in the world. We're wealthier than Paris, wealthier than London, just the wealthiest city. But they got their business plan wrong. At some point, they tripped themselves up, and I can break down why in more details through another podcast. I don't want to burn up time here, but there are reasons why it's not having to do with the efficacy or the viability of the people. There are people that are fine. They just had a bad business plan. They thought that having the automobile industry was enough. No, you got to constantly upgrade your software, and you cannot have the unions and the capitalists, the management at war with each other for 20, 30 years. And with the wrong set of priorities of why the Bible says a house divided cannot stand. But anyway, Detroit, which I think is an enormous opportunity. I can't wait to get busy going deeper in Detroit, working with the mayor and others there. And I'm willing to come to your city, by the way, with my business plan for America, for your city. Get my book, Financial Literacy for All. Tell your mayor to get books for his or her library. I'm willing, tell them to listen to my podcast. Embrace Operation Hope as a partner. I'm willing to come there and do a speaking event with your mayor. Have them send a letter to my assistant, Kevin Boucher, in my office, who runs strategy and communications, and I'll see if I can get it on the schedule for our tour. Number two, uh, uh, Killeen, Texas. Sorry about that if I mispronounced it. 642 credit score. Washington D.C. Isn't this crazy? 644 credit score. Isn't that crazy? Even in our nation's capital. Um, um, Corpus Christi, Texas, 648. Mobile, Alabama, 650. Knoxville, Tennessee, 650. See, I'm not picking on anybody, I'm picking on everybody. Fayetteville, North Carolina, 651. Savannah, Georgia, 652. Birmingham, Alabama, 653. I know the mayor there is really trying to turn things around. We actually helped him become a homeowner. The mayor in Birmingham is doing a great job. Woodfin, a good friend. We have offices there, and we're working to get that number up. Columbia, South Carolina, 649. Okay. Um, Now let's get into uh, the areas where the 500 credit score is within 15 minutes of a 700 credit score community. Detroit, Michigan, 566, and Grosse Point, Michigan, 730. 15 minutes apart, give or take. South Central LA, where I'm from, 580 credit score. Culver City, California, 720 credit score. I was just in Culver City, blew my mind. the economic activity, the entrepreneurship, the revitalization is happening in Culver City, and black folks and brown folks, we could have we lived in this era. We could have become the people who own the property and did all the things, but we didn't have the right business plan. We weren't focusing on the right things. We're trying to rock the mic, not own the mic, right? So now somebody else does, right? You can't be mad at somebody else taking an opportunity when you could have yourself. And but there's still time. There's still ways to improve, to wherever you are, you can still do better. And I've got the tools to help you get there. So don't get mad, get even by succeeding. Number three, South Side of Chicago, Illinois. I toured this area myself personally. Um, and if you go to the Hope Financial Wellness Index, there's actually a PowerPoint you can download of my tour there. And there's a social media video that I did on this, well, I actually literally showed you what I saw on the South Side of Chicago. So, South Side of Chicago, 590 credit score. In Hyde Park, Illinois, 710 credit score. Okay. 15 minutes apart. Oh, and I actually took you on a tour. You can watch one of my videos. I literally took you on a tour and I drove from the South Side of Chicago to Hyde Park. I think it was Lincoln Park. Four, West Baltimore, Maryland, a 570 credit score. Uh, Cantonsville, Maryland, 705 credit score, 15 minutes apart. Number five, South Dallas, Texas, 580 credit score. Highland Park, Texas, 740 credit score, 15 minutes apart. Where my mother grew up, East St. Louis. Again, I didn't make this up. This is just an example. 560 credit score. I'm picking on my mother and my auntie's hometown. 560 credit score. Okay. Clayton, Missouri, 15 minutes apart, 725 credit score. And I guarantee you go to all these areas and you will find that the data I've given you is absolutely dead on right. That you live shorter lives, you have more obesity, you've got more crime, you got more depression, you got more anxiety, you got uh, less nuclear prop families, you got less restaurants that sit down, you got less park and green areas, you got police that prey on you versus protect you. That's at least the perception of that. You've got less economic activity, less small businesses, less services in these 500 credit score neighborhoods. You have check cashers, payday loan lenders, rent own stores, title lenders, liquor stores, pawn shops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you go 15 minutes apart, and it's nirvana, completely different. Let's talk about rural America now. Okay. Rural communities are not 15 minutes apart because, well, they're rural communities. So they might be different counties, right? Well, let me just so make sure, I'm just want to make sure everybody understands these are exactly the same. And again, call me on this. I've never been to any of these communities I'm telling you, other than a couple of, I mentioned East St. Louis. And so there's some places where when I've been there, I've said it. Well, of course, been to Baltimore, but most of these areas, but I can tell you exactly what they look like just by virtue of the credit score. I've told you what a 500 credit score community looks like. I've told you what a 700 credit score community looks like. If you see something different in these communities, you send me a note and you tell me, and I'll apologize publicly. I just don't think it's going to happen. Rural communities, 500 versus 700. Clay County, Kentucky, 500 credit score. Madison County, Kentucky, 700 credit score. Um, Clay County is located in the Appalachian region, by the way. Clay County faces economic challenges with limited access to financial services and higher rates of poverty. You've heard of the Appalachians. Madison County, home to Eastern Kentucky University. Madison County benefits from educational institutions and more diversified economic activities, contributing to higher average credit scores and higher economic vitality. Okay, number two. I'm gonna do these. I'm gonna run through these so I can because I got some more stuff I want to cover for you. McDowell County, West Virginia, 500 credit score. Monongalia County, sorry for butchering that. Monongalia County, West Virginia, 700 credit score. Monongalia County, well, I don't have time to get into the sub details on this. You can look it up for yourself. You'll find that this is that this is there's a reason for these contrasts. Number three, Wilcox County, Alabama, 500 credit score. Shelby County, Alabama, 700 credit score. Uh, Shaky County, Mississippi, 500. Madison County, Mississippi, 700. Uh, Apache County, Arizona, 500. But pretty sure that's a Native American community. Um, Coconino, Coconino County, Stop laughing. C-O-C-O-N Coconino. You say it. Okay. Coconino County, Arizona, 700. Uh, uh, Delta County, Colorado, 500. Larimer County, Colorado, 700. See, you're starting to get the gist here. Like this, I mean, again, I like data. I like math because it doesn't have an opinion. Okay, there's an outlier here in my data. It's West Virginia, the same state that my wife's from, Shatra Bryant, and my brother from another mother, Bishop T.D. Jakes, the Black Pope. By the way, Pope Francis, God rest his soul. I just wrote a piece in Time where you should read it on his passing. He reminds me in many ways of Dr. King. But my the guy I often will joke is the Black Pope is Bishop T.D. Jakes. They're both my wife and Bishop are from Charleston, West Virginia. Okay, so why is the West Virginia an outlier? It actually has a pretty high credit score. The average credit score is 700. The problem is that there's no economic activity around it, at least not enough. West Virginia has long relied on coal, hello, and extractive industries, old businesses that are tired, worn out, and need to be, you know, uh, transitioned over time versus holding on for dear life until the last gasp of the industry peeps out, as we did with many industries in the Industrial Revolution that were sent offshore because it was cheaper and more efficient to do it, and because we wanted to have energy, and well, we just moved to an information and technology economy. Anyway, West Virginia is still stuck. Sorry, West Virginia is still dependent upon a coal and extractive industries which have declined dramatically over time. There's been limited reinvestment in modern industries like tech, green energy, or advanced manufacturing, which they have the capacity to do. One of my board members, a good friend of mine, Brad Smith, runs a major university there. He's $1 million donor to Operation Hope. He's, I think, the wealthiest man in one of them in West Virginia. Is completely committed. He was chairman of Intuit. Brilliant businessman, really cares. He's completely committed to raising all roads in West Virginia, and I want to partner with him in that regard. Really role model of an individual. Unlike states with booming metros, like Georgia with Atlanta, West Virginia lacks large economic engines. Okay. Two is a brain drain and a population loss. Many young, educated people leave the state for better opportunities elsewhere. The population is aging, and net migration is negative. People coming into the state, shrinking the talent pool and the tax base. This is why you want diversity. This is why you want immigrants, legal immigrants, yes. This is why you want people excited about where you live, and you want the place to be a beacon of hope and opportunity, and you want it to be inviting. Otherwise, the economy is going to die. Infrastructure and connective gaps. Rural communities have limited broadband, transportation, and access to capital. These limitations restrict entrepreneurship and remote work, even if individuals are financially responsible, with a 700 credit score in this example. Under leveraged credit. A 700 credit score in West Virginia often comes with very conservative credit use, low debt, which generally is good, but also limited reinvestment in small businesses, home upgrades, or higher education. So they have no debt, but they've got no bling. You want to call it that? No business bling, or no. I'm not saying the get up and go has got up and went, but again, relying on old industries. People aren't financially overextended. They're just not building wealth aggressively either. We got to change that. Poor health outcomes, all this is connected. West Virginia ranks low in public health metrics, obesity, substance abuse, substance use, life expectancy, all of which limit workforce productivity and increase the public costs for the state. Education gaps. The state underperforms in K through 12 and higher education attainment. Without a highly educated workforce, it's hard to attract employers or innovate them from within. So the bottom line with West Virginia is that while they manage their credit wisely, they're living in an economic they're living in an economy that hasn't been retooled for the 21st century. Improving credit scores is foundational, but economic revival also requires investment in education, infrastructure, industry, entrepreneurship, and an optimistic perspective for the future. And now I'm talking about you, not a state. Think about what I just said, but apply it to you. I want you to have a good credit score. So no one will deny you. You take your credit score. You work with Operation Hope. You get your credit score up, and you go to the computer. You don't trust me. You say, "Oh, John's messing around. It's this still racism. It's just everywhere." And I don't care what John's saying. I know it's racism. Okay, then work with Operation Hope. Get your credit score up, your debt down, your savings up. Just get your credit score up, and you have a job, right? Yeah, that'll be a pay for your bills. And go to the computer at midnight. Go to one of the big banks, right? That you swear these folks are racist, right? You've been reading all the newspapers. Go to the big bank at midnight. Nobody's even around. No one computer don't know what color you are. They don't know what race you are, what gender you are, and the application's not asking you for that. You type in your information and you type in your credit scores above 700. And you have a job and you're trying to get 50,000, 20,000, $100,000 worth of credit line or home ownership. Let's do home ownership really simple, or a credit card or something, $100,000 or less. Watch you get an approval, right? You send me a note. You send me a note. You have a good job, decent employment. You're not $10,000 annual income trying to get $100,000 loans. Don't do something stupid. You got a middle class situation with a decent credit score. You go to that computer and you ask for a loan for prime loan for auto loan, or for to get your first home ownership loan or whatever, right? And watch what the computer says. Computer will come back with either an approval or a conditional approval. The color's green. I'll end where I started. The issue at the end of the day. Now, is racism real? Yes. Racism is like rain. It's either falling someplace or it's gathering. So you might as well get out a an umbrella in the color you like, and start strolling through it, because it's not going to change. So you must. So racism real, but you can offset this situation by improving your situation. The average credit score. Drop the mic here. Please listen to me, for a Black America, is about 620. So we talk about police brutality and racism and politics and what's going on in Washington. We're obsessed with all these things, and rightly so, right? Civil rights, social justice, all that stuff. But that means 620 credit score means that half of Black America is waking up every morning locked out of the free enterprise system. You can't get a decent auto loan at 620. You can't get a home loan, a prime home loan at 620. You can't get a small business loan. That's risky credit below 700. So if your credit is toe up from the flow up, if you think credit, like my dad used to call it, credit, my credit is bad, right? You're not getting approval, and you can think it's racism all you want. Your credit score is 500. I'm not giving you a loan, right? No one's going to give you credit. You don't pay your bills. That's what that says. You're not paying your bills. This is something you can control, right? And I'm giving you some game here. Like I know this works because it's worked for me. And by the way, I was homeless. My credit was toe up. It was 400 and 500, right? And I cover that in my book, Financial Literacy for All, which, by the way, the paperback is now out. Is now a bestseller on Amazon and at Walmart. Hopefully, you can get it at a black bookstore too. But it's a bestseller now. I think the paperback is a bestseller at Amazon. And the hardcover is a bestseller at Walmart. It's been a bestseller for over a year. Read that. Read that book. I was talking to my brother Ti today, the rapper, the businessman rapper, brilliant dude actually, and he's going to read the book Financial Literacy Raw with his children and his family, like deal with a different chapter every week. Right? He's trying to understand this capitalism situation. So, I mean, this is transformational. It's something you can control in your life. It's something that you can measure. I check my credit score every couple of days because, oh, here's an easy one for you. I can't believe I didn't say this. This is a 53-minute mark. If you just want somebody to go to like an easy one, this is what Operation Hope does. I'm gonna give you some of our free game. The first thing we do is pull your credit report. If you've not pulled your credit report, um, in months, certainly years, without question, years. But if you put your credit score in months, you got an error on your credit report. And the law states, the three credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, the law states, these are credit repositories, by the way. Don't get mad at the credit bureaus. They're just repositories for data. They're just passive repositories for credit data. And a lot of that data is wrong, right? Somebody's giving them that data, inputting. By the way, use a SUSU. Make sure if you're a landlord, make sure they're using a SUSU, which is a good brother. There's a African founded company called a SUSU. I know the founder. They're $1 billion company. They say I helped inspire them, get them going, but they actually track rent payment rent payments to your landlord to make sure they get added to your credit bureau so you get credit for it. So they make sure they report credit payments to the credit bureau so you get credit for that as you try to build your credit report. Back to the story. If you have not checked your credit in months and certainly years, there's a 80 to 90% chance there's an error on your credit report. There's something on there that's not yours and you're getting dinged for it. And when you say to my coaches at Operation Hope, I don't know what that is. That's not me. Great. We then write a letter with you to the credit bureaus. The law states that they can't confirm that's yours within 30 days. They must remove it. And when they come back and they can't confirm it's yours, they remove it. That's a 30-point pop in your credit score. Hello, what does it do to your self esteem? If you go from uh, 610 credit score to 640 or 570 to 610 or 600, right? Or from 680 to 710. I mean, 710. Just imagine it raises your self esteem, raises your confidence, your belief in the system. You're like, okay, okay, what else can we do? Okay, that we look at your credit report and what's that? Oh no, I got divorced several years ago and it was messy. And my husband and I had this phone bill and he didn't pay the phone bill for months. It's $1,000. I couldn't pay it. So I went to the credit bureaus. So AT&T in this example, so SBC Communications, and this would be Oakland, California. 'Cause I remember this actually happened. They sold it, the debt, they were sold to Pac Bell. Pac Bell was sold to AT&T. They kept rolling your debt over to these new companies. AT&T chased you, couldn't find you. The phone rang, it was a 1-800 number. You're like, I don't know nobody with no 1-800 number. It didn't answer. Don't act like you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And you didn't answer. They sent that to the credit bureau. They sold it. They sold that to a credit agency who buys bad debt. They bought that debt. They won't tell you. I know they bought that debt for pennies on the dollar. So it's $1,000 bill. You don't want to deal with it because it shows up as $1,000 charge off on your credit report. It's jamming up your credit score. Everything else may be okay, but that's jamming your credit score. That's hitting you like 200 points or something. That charge off that's 10 years old or 8 years old or whatever, keeps renewing because the credit bureau, the credit a company that bought the debt is trying to collect from you. You're like, but I don't have $1,000. My credit people are like, coaches like, don't worry about that. Let's call them because what we know is they bought it for probably 5 cents on the dollar, so they paid $50 for that line of credit. Right, the line is a credit line we call it. Right, it's a line on your credit bureau. They paid $50 for that, 5 cents on the dollar. What do they want? They want to double their money. So so the other companies already charged it off. They've charged they in this example they want 50. They bought it for $50. They're calling you. We call them with you on the phone. Hey, I've got Mrs. Jones here. We're looking for Mrs. Jones. She's looking for you. Well, we want our money. How much do you want? We want $100. We're gonna pay you $200. Huh? Why are you gonna pay me double what I'm asking for? Because if we pay you double, and I'm going to speak to your supervisor and tell them that you did a good job for staying with us and being consistent, but I want you to commit to remove this from her credit bureau, and I want you to write a letter, get this off our credit report, and when it comes back and shows up back up again because it's been there so long, it's going to reappear. I want you to commit in writing to write another letter, and we follow up with these folks month after month to get that off your credit report and keep it off. Well, your credit score will just jump, right? So in this example, we probably popped you up 80, at least 80 points or more in your credit report. And then we just start working on other stuff. So this is not like genius work, right? It's just hard work and no one's doing it. Let me give you one last story of a lady who worked worked a hourly job for 32 years. She made $15 to $18 an hour. This is for the person who says, John, I'm not a billionaire, a millionaire, a thousandaire. I'm just me and I'm working. Can this work for me? This lady, my mother, Juanita Smith, the mother of John Hope Bryant, Mara Hoskins, and Dave Darnell Harris. Um, this wonderful lady who divorced my daddy, Johnny Will Smith, and went out with nothing in L.A. She could have taken my dad for a cleaning. She could have got California's a community property state. We owned a gas station, an 8-unit apartment building, a nursery building, our own homes. She could have cleaned them out, and she just said no. I'm going on my own. All I want is you to leave me alone. Let me go live my life with my kids. And my dad, who had a business, it was a business owner, and had all these assets because he was financially illiterate and he didn't realize he needed my mother. He lost all of those assets. I ended up taking care of him. His credit score was in the toilet. My mother went to go work an hourly job, and it was called McDonnell Douglas Aircraft, Boeing Aircraft, it became later, for 32 years. She did some part-time stuff. She had a little candy thing on the side. She said a little handicraft business she had on the side. I had a candy business. We're thinking where I got it from, and she'd sell stuff to her coworkers at McDonnell Douglas Aircraft. Became Boeing Aircraft later on. And to make a long story short, she died with $1 million net worth, right? Bought and sold 7 houses, had a credit score of 854. Some smart bub was like, credit scores don't go to 854, John. Yeah, they did back then, smart rear end. It's 850 maximum now. But my mother was balling back then. By the way, her credit score actually went down to the 700s later on because she wasn't using credit when she retired, and I was taking care of her here in Atlanta. So her credit score was still above 700, but it wasn't 850 anymore because she wasn't obtaining credit. But her credit score was 854 at some point. My mother wasn't black, she was green. I mean, mom, you gonna get married again? Maybe, baby. What does that mean? Well, if I get married, he's gonna be a BMW. Mom, don't be vain. What does that mean? A black man working. My mother wasn't playing, and you shouldn't play either. This is possible. You can change your life, and I expect you to. Let's go get it. This is the silver rights movement from civil rights in the streets to civil rights in the business suites. We've got red rooms that we've created to fight discrimination and racism. And we got red rooms all across this country, civil rights, social justice organizations. We need green rooms. We need Operation Hope. We need not 1,500 locations. We need 15,000 locations. It should become the Starbucks of financial literacy, sorry, financial inclusion, and the Walmart of financial literacy. We should be everywhere, helping you to plug into this system, this economic piping, this economic infrastructure. That's what I'm committed to doing. Economic plumbing for underserved America. Whether you're poor, white, rural, or you're black and brown, urban, you deserve to have a shot at this economic thing called the American dream. John O'Brien, I'm out. This is Money and Wealth. Peace and light.